Okay, hello and welcome to the Embody Your Natural Masculine Summit. I am Renee and I'm your host for these days. And in this summit, I'm going to present to you a variety of speakers who are going to talk about male embodiment and empowerment. And the aim is to give you new experiences, new inspirations that will help you gain more confidence, a deeper connection with yourself, with your own body, and with the people in your life. And for today, I'm happy to present to you Jason Diggs. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Renee.
Hello.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to be here with you. And I really remember 2 years ago, your enthusiasm being in my course and learning authentic relating. And it's really nice to, I'm really glad that you're doing this for all the men out there.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you do. You are the author of the new book, and it's called Conflict is Energy, the transformative practice of authentic relating. You are a modern Renaissance man, equal parts artist, philosopher, teacher, and media producer. From 2003 until 2012, you worked for Integral Institute to create thousands of hours of educational media on the topics of transpersonal psychology, spirituality, productivity, and personal growth. Obsessed with how humans can live and relate optimally, you facilitate groups and authentic relating and circling since 2012. In 2017, you co-founded Authentic Relating Training International and has since then led courses in 20 cities around the world. Thank you for being here. And first, to just start, I would love to hear a little bit about your own journey in life and how you discovered the practice of authentic relating.
Yeah, so I actually think of myself primarily as an artist. And from ages 15 to ages 30, 35, music was the biggest part of my life. Like I performed in all these bands and was a bass player. And so when I was in my mid to late 20s, around 27, I was so dissatisfied with life. Like at the time, I was working retail and selling cell phones, and I wasn't using any of the things that I learned in college, like very typical experience for, I think, people who are out of college for 5 years or so. And they're like, wait, what am I doing with my life? And I took this, what I call my leap of faith. I moved from the East Coast of America, upstate New York, to Colorado. And it was because I had met people on the internet who were interested in this thing called integral theory, and the work of Ken Wilber and the author. And I just knew people over the internet. That's it. And I packed everything into my car and I drove halfway across the country. I'd never even been to Colorado. And a couple of months after I arrived, I was hired to do video editing for this company. And I had literally never done anything in video. I just knew how to set up microphones from being a musician and knew a little bit about audio engineering. And that started me on this journey of studying with some of the world's greatest spiritual teachers in the world. So I was the guy behind the soundboard for Deepak Chopra and David Data and Diane Mushino Hamilton and all of the integral teachers. And I was filming and creating content around integral consciousness and integral spirituality, integral psychology, all these different things. And was at all of these conferences, just absorbing for years. And so I had that early phase as an educational producer, and then I became a video producer independently and was doing like lots of different projects for many businesses here in Boulder, and had my own video company for about 5 or 6 years. And then I transitioned to teaching and facilitating. And so that's been the last 7 years of my life. I encountered authentic relating, and it was the thing that allowed me to step into my gifts and give my gift deeper in the world and really find my path and find my purpose in a way that a lot of previous things in spirituality and personal growth didn't. Like, those things helped me. They helped me become aware of some of my patterns and become, a little bit more empowered and grow out of them. But there were actually a few areas of my life. Is it okay to tell the story like this?
Yeah.
I'm almost done. So there was a couple areas of my life that were completely untouched by meditation, by, studying with spiritual teachers, by doing, even transpersonal psychology work where you're, looking at your blocks and really getting into the territory of the psyche. And that was, in the face of conflict, I still was so painfully like unskillful because I was so triggered into fear.
Yeah.
If I felt threatened, I would act like a crazy person, like so many of us do. And the other area was social anxiety. Sometimes I would be fine, but about 50% of the time when I went into a social environment, my insecurity would have me be painfully shy, not be able, not feel like I could talk to half the people in the room, and really only had to gravitate towards people I knew. I literally could not speak to a group of more than 4 or 5 people at a time.
Like speak in front of a group, you mean?
Yeah, with like, even if it was a dinner party with like 8 or 9 people, like I couldn't even raise my voice and talk to that many people at the same time without like quaking in my boots. So social anxiety. So I was suffering from social anxiety, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And when I encountered authentic relating and these particular practices, I started growing like crazy. Within a year of practicing, I went from being painfully shy in many social situations to teaching, to leadership, and I was leading 30 people in a room for this 2-hour event. And so I was doing that for years and leading circling in Boulder, Colorado, and with this whole team of people. And then I started my own company and was teaching the work all around the world for about 3 years. And then I wrote a book. So that you asked about my journey. That's it.
Well, that's it. That's a beautiful journey. Yeah. I didn't know you had like this close nearby experiences with all those different teachers before you started the authentic relating journey. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, you have a really broad background in that. All right, so can you share a little bit more about what authentic relating is?
Yeah, it's a set of tools and practices and exercises that exercise our emotional muscles. In other words, we're directly training our emotional intelligence, our ability for empathy, listening, perspective taking, our ability to really, your conference is really about empowerment and embodiment, right? And so it's actually interpreting all of the information that's stored in the body, that's stored in the unconscious. So being able to like interpret that into useful actions in the world is the realm of emotional intelligence. And we all know this is important, but we don't necessarily know how to train it. Well, authentic relating has a series of practices and exercises to do that.
Yeah, because that was one of the main reasons that I invited you for this talk, was that for me personal, the practice of authentic relating was really a way of speaking from my own body experience, my own personal experience when talking to someone. What do I feel? What is happening to me? And that was really a new way of relating to someone. I was more like, before I only knew like the more factual, informational kind of talks, and this brought a whole new way of relating with someone else for me. Yeah. So
yeah, I remember that very first course. That was the first course we did in Europe that you were at. Yeah, it was a beautiful one.
Yeah, in Spain and Amsterdam after. Yeah. So can you share a bit more about why this embodied way of communication is the way of relating that you teach.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a tiny bit about the book. So the book is called Conflict Equals Energy.
Yeah.
And it has the full curriculum of authentic relating. You can get it in paperback or ebook. And there's 30 tools in the book. So what I did is the course, The Art of Being Human that we did do is absolutely amazing. And you can go through all of this material with a small group of people. But the book breaks it down even further, and it has a lot that's not even in the course. And so there's one tool that I call Let Me Check. And I want to answer your question by talking about this tool. So often in life, we agree to things that are not really good for us. I mean, can you relate to that?
Yeah, definitely.
Or we agree to something that is partly good for us, but not good for us in these other ways. And we do it out of social pressure. We do it out of just appeasing other people. We do it out of wow, it would be too much emotional work to actually even just speak up for what my needs are, because I don't even know what they are. So, so Let Me Check is a way to say, there's something that someone is asking of me, like, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z? Or, do you want to do this thing with me? It's a way to check into our physical body, because our bellies have literally more neural connections than the brains in our heads. One of the ways that psychology and personal growth talks about this is we actually have 3 brains, right? We have a belly brain, we have a heart brain, and we have a head brain, and they all have different functions. Well, authentic relating literally connects the head brain to the heart brain, to the belly brain, so they can start to talk. If you imagine your gut or your intuition is its own language, it doesn't speak English or German or Dutch, or it just doesn't work that way. It has its own laws of operating, and you have to become friends with it and get to know how to interpret these things from it. And then we can actually start making decisions in life based on our gut.
Yeah.
So belly, do you know this word gut? We use it often in America, but
yeah, I know the word gut, the gut feeling, like I have a good feeling or a bad feeling.
Yeah, it's basically our intuition.
Yeah.
And so we need to reconnect with the intelligence of our heart and reconnect with the intelligence of our intuition, and balance that with everything that our head is telling us, which is the pros and cons and the efficiency of something, and whether or not it fits in with other people. And so we need all 3 to navigate a good and rich life.
Yeah, and I think what we mostly learn is really navigating your life from your headspace only, from your thoughts only. Yeah. We did get disconnected from that gut feeling and that heart that's also telling us something. Yeah. So the practices of authentic relating are really helping people to find back that communication with their heart and their gut as well. Would you say that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then find a way to connect them all into your life and communicating. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So because I really recognize what you say. Like a lot of times you do things out of because you think out of fear, or because you think something is expected from you, and it's hard in that moment to know what you actually want yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So the tool is never agree to something without checking in with the body.
Yeah.
And it's totally okay. And this is just a way to make what we're talking about really practical. It's always, always, always okay to say, let me check. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Like this is a very basic application. And people who are emotionally intelligent already know this. They're already doing it intuitively, and they don't, even if they don't have the language for it. But so many of us are just agreeing to something and then paying for the price for it later on.
Yeah. 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 So this is like you're learning tools that make you give you the opportunity to stop making the wrong decision, actually. So like, instead of saying yes to something that you don't want to do, you actually give yourself some time to really feel, well, what do I want to do, instead of having to like turn things around in a later
Or
moment. Yeah.
what would make it a yes for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
What do you need to ask in return, or what do you need to which parts of it can you say yes to?
Yeah.
This is only possible if we give ourselves time and space to let our head brains talk to our belly brains.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut. We have to, because we all do it differently. Some people do it by journaling. Some people do it by going for a run. Some people, so we have to cultivate a deep relationship with ourselves if we expect to be able to be guided by our intuition in life.
Yeah. And what would, because someone that is like not used to be guided to from their intuition, and is only used to living in their headspace, and is not really feeling yet why this would be beneficial for them, what would you say to them, for someone who is like, I don't know, why would I do this?
It's easier. Everything gets easier. It's just the amount of emotional energy that's expended from suppressing different things, or managing different things, or trying to control different things. Like when we have this phrase in personal growth or spiritual communities called in alignment, which is a funny way to say it. But basically, we are being true to ourselves. And when we are true to ourselves, things flow easier because people know how to orient to us. If we don't know what's right for us, if we don't have much clarity in life, it's really confusing for the people around us. They have to do extra work.
Yeah.
Know how to relate to us.
Go in every direction that someone else
yeah
takes you. So it's also really about taking direction of your own life. Yeah. Okay. And what can this practice of authentic relating bring to relationships?
Well, yeah. Authentic relating was originally created and designed to build community and to have us be seen, heard, and felt in deep ways that is emotionally nourishing. So it was really designed to create rich and lasting connections and build community. And that was the whole kind of first wave of authentic relating. And that's called authentic relating games. So there's all these communities where people get together and do these games and exercises. What me and my co-founder have done is actually a second wave where we're specifically looking at how this can increase our emotional intelligence through building our communication skill, and also how to handle conflict and tension in our relationships. And this is almost like the advanced applications of authentic relating. So that's why the book is called Conflict Equals Energy, is because once we learn these more basic things of how to be in touch with ourselves and how to direct our lives based on, our heart being able to be connected to our reason, and our belly be connected to our reason. Once we learn all of this, and we learn how to really, a big part of this is psychological safety. We learn how to create safety in relationships so that we can tell the truth. Right? Sometimes I like to say authentic relating is all about telling the truth without blowing up your relationships, because just being authentic can be scary for people.
Yeah, very scary.
It's scary for us, to really speak up in ways that we haven't spoken up before. So it takes courage. Well, that's why authenticity needs to develop in in relation to safety.
Yeah.
In other words, you might say, let's just make this practical. Let's say we have a need in our relationship, our primary relationship with someone we're dating, or someone that's a spouse, and that need is not being met. And maybe we've tried to drop a few hints here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we even asked for it, like, oh, can we do this? Can we do more of this? But it's still not happening, right?
Yeah.
6 weeks have gone by, the need still doesn't feel like it's being met,
Not.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's for quality time, maybe that's for validation in a certain way. Like, all of these are totally valid needs in
Mm-hmm.
our relationships,
Yeah.
right? So we need to start a conversation. We need to get real. We need to be authentic.
Yeah.
Well, safety is created by saying, I care about you. I'm not breaking up with you. And I need to be truthful with you about this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, because I can say, like, you can also be authentic in a way that you can, like, just blur everything out and just make someone feel bad. But that's
Yeah.
not the way of authentic relating that you are talking about. No.
Well, you making someone feel scared.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, right? If we're fearful, we can't listen as well.
No.
So if we're signaling a lot of fear to the other person and we're trying to get our point across, we're actually just undermining our own communication.
Yeah, you're actually disconnecting because the other one cannot hear you anymore because there's, like, fears triggered in the other person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop hearing you. Yeah. And I guess that is something that is happening a lot in, like, conflict situations, that people stop hearing each other and no longer, yeah, can feel or hear what the other person has to say, or what is happening for the other person, and are only, like, you're coming back to protecting yourself, and yeah, get more conflicted in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's biological.
Yeah.
The more traumatized and fearful that we are,
Yeah.
the more we don't have access to what's called the prefrontal cortex, the front of our brain that lives behind our forehead, which is where our compassion happens,
Mm-hmm.
where our ability to take another person's perspective, right? Our ability for long-term strategic thinking, our ability to have higher values, right?
Yeah.
If you think of yourself as a good person and you want to be kind no matter what, that's great. Most everyone is like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too triggered and you're too fearful, that value goes out the window, right?
Yeah.
And all bets are off, and that's how people end up in the damaging type of conflict.
Yeah.
Right? Because we don't have access to what's really important to us, in a long-term way. So our long-term values of, like, what do I want for myself 6 months from now? What do I want for myself, my community, several years from now? We have to be healthy and well regulated and feel safe to be able to keep those things online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So in your book, you talk about survival instincts as well, and how
Mm-hmm.
they interfere. So that's, like, these kind of fears that are coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that actually create conflict instead of bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
They actually bring people apart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, um, so your book is called "Conflict is Energy,"
Mm-hmm.
and I think, because I know from, like, the authentic relating workshop that I've been to, we did a practice where we were, like, also working with the energy of, like, a conflict situation,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, turning that around into something else, or, like, how, like, we learned how to play with that in a way, instead of, like, making it worse. to like de-escalate the situation.
Yeah. And we use the word transform. Conflict resolution is more about de-escalation.
Yeah.
And in authentic relating, we're talking about transforming conflict into more clarity, connection, and teamwork.
Yeah.
Right. And so it takes actually a lot of communication skill and a lot of self-awareness to do that.
Yeah.
That's why I call, transforming conflict is the advanced, even tension. Like, let's say there's a tension between you and a colleague. Most people don't say anything.
No.
And they just wait for it to go away. Or, this ends up being someone in the office that we are polite with, but we actually don't like them.
Yeah.
Because of this tension, right?
Yeah.
That's not addressed, and it's happening underneath the surface. Well, the reason people don't tell the truth is because if we don't have communication skill, it can make things way worse to tell the truth.
Yeah. 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 You don't know what's going to happen after, so it's even worse. Yeah. So a relationship would be even worse afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that doesn't make us inauthentic. That's just normal. Humans just do that.
Yeah.
So once we learn all the basic self-awareness skills and all the basic communication skills, then we can experiment with telling the truth and transforming that. And so the book, the last 3 chapters really have very special or like specific processes for being able to do this. And then the first 9 chapters of the book are more of the foundational practices.
Yeah. So in the book, you really give someone like the guidelines to start practicing the authentic relating for themselves, and you can just start on your own when you're doing this, or do you need someone else to like practice it with, or can you already make changes when you're just started on your own?
Yes. Yeah, the book is a full curriculum that allows you to practice it directly at home. And there's all kinds of events and communities. My own company, we do, I think, 2 weekly open to the community free calls over Zoom. And then we have a 6-week class that you can sign up for. And that's a closed group of people that you can really get to know them through the process of really diving deep into this material.
Yeah. And then you can really actually practice it in a group of people that is practicing the same thing as you. Yeah. But just having the book and just starting to do things from the book, would that already bring in different experiences in someone's life?
Oh, definitely. I made the book absolutely as accessible and practical as possible.
Yeah.
So there's many exercises in it. There's 12 games, what we call authentic relating games in it. And there's actually 30 tools. So in 12 chapters, I do 30 different authentic relating tools. So I'll talk about one of the bigger concepts or teachings of authentic relating, like embodiment. So chapter 2 is called embodiment. And then after talking about that for 3 pages, I go directly to a tool that you can apply it to your life. And that's the pulse of the whole book. It's like very practical and very bite-sized. Most of the tools are like 200 to 300 words long, so you could read them in 3 to 5 minutes and practice.
I can just start practicing right away. And in the beginning of the talk, you shared a little bit about how these practices also really changed how you were evolving in your own life. And how does that work? How does the practice bring in a difference for you?
We have these things in personal growth that we talk about. Like, be true to yourself, be authentic, have self-love. You can't really love another person if you don't love yourself. I don't know about you, but I have actually not found those things to be helpful. like they sound good. They're good things to say or post in a meme on Facebook. But how? Like, right? Self-love is not just about self-care. It's not about, taking a bubble bath and taking time for yourself. Like that's a very small part of self-love, right? Having good boundaries, right?
It's a big one. Yeah.
Having good boundaries is a form of self-love,
Yeah.
right? And so I just think as humans, we need a lot of education around our emotional lives, our relationship lives. And for so long, like a lot of the teachings around relationship came through, Tantra and, schools around, how to have a great romantic relationship but what about our friendships? What about our colleagues? What about our relationship with ourselves? So authentic relating is really taking wisdom and really just breaking it down into like, oh, here's a specific exercise you can practice. Here's a way to think about your relationship with, your colleagues.
Yeah. And yeah, I think really what you say, like your own boundaries is a really big thing. And the first step in that is to really become aware when someone asks you something, what is happening inside my body when you ask me that? Do I want this or not? Is there something like tension building up, or do I feel like a yes coming from my body or a no? And then the next step is actually feeling safe to express that in a way that you know that you're not bringing more conflict into the situation. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the more advanced understanding of what authenticity is it's not just like one person having the courage to like speak the truth. That's only one part of authenticity. The other part is you and I have both built a relationship that can hold the authenticity, that allows us to speak the truth. Right? Because if there's all kinds of emotional or financial backlash from me, speaking the truth, I can't be authentic.
No.
Humans are literally programmed for survival first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's programmed in us forever. Yeah.
Hardwired in there.
Yeah.
We will give up our authentic truth and our expression in a moment's notice to preserve our safety, to protect the people that we love, to preserve our financial well-being, because these are all linked into our survival.
Yeah. They're like really basic, the survival needs that are most important to us. Yeah. So only when you have that safety, you can actually become more authentic. Yeah. And I also read something from your book, like that telling the truth just feels good. And a feeling of relief is the transformation of stagnant into useful and usable energy. Learning to do this in real time is one of the most powerful skills you can master. Just as alchemists transform metal into gold, we can learn to transform conflict into love. Yeah, so really beautiful. Yes. So you also talk about like stagnant energy in this sentence. Is that like something that is stagnant inside of us, that when we won't tell the truth, when we don't speak it out? Is it something that is blocking us as well?
Or blocking the relationship.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing, is that so much lives between us. So much of the energy, like, we have this word that we use that's very popular in business now, culture. What is culture? It's it's a bunch of energy that's stored in the group or in the collective. It's not in one individual. It goes through all of us and between us. So conflict equals energy is really about there's all of these energies inside of us and all of these energies flying around between us.
Mm.
And if we can name them and speak them and use these specific tools, we can learn to transform them. And that's communication mastery. You know, the leaders that we admire the most can take a situation that looks like it's going off the rails and actually create more teamwork out of it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, how do they do
How
that?
do you do
Like,
that? Yeah.
that's why I call it alchemy.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
the
and this
magic.
is something, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is something that I have studied for years, and I can't do it all the time. Like,
Mm.
but honestly, if you can do this 40 to 50% of the time, that is a level of communication mastery.
Yeah, that most of us don't have or never learned something about. Yeah.
Yeah, and we never learned something about it, and so you know that we just can start where we are.
Yeah.
But you know, our things like our listening skill and our ability to handle conflict and tension in our relationships, these are things we can grow at our whole lives. You know, the people who do these things well, we call it wisdom.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it is a sort of wisdom that we don't get taught in school or in like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is totally missing in that area. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So, and when you talk about like energies between people, that is like a lot of times, I guess, the first thing I'm thinking about then is like the sort of how do you call it in English? Like the continuing loops that you are like getting into back to the same fight or things like that, and like the same patterns that you see repeating again and again to people. And those are the things that you talk about when you speak about energies between two people, or also are you also talking about other things?
Mhm. Well, the internet was skipping a little bit, but
Yeah.
I did hear most of it. One of the ways that we talk about this, we have this phrase, the elephant in the room,
Mm,
right? What is the elephant in the room? It's like something that's unspoken, something that is tense, something that is awkward, and everyone can feel it, but no one's saying it. Um, well, there's actually like ways to speak to that is highly constructive and highly productive.
mm,
But it takes a lot of awareness. So a lot of the basic building blocks of authentic relating is really about creating self-awareness, creating what I would call perspective.
yeah.
So it's like the ability to instead of being completely embedded in our anger, say, or a strong emotion, we
Mhm.
can look at and see the strong emotion, and we can realize that that's one factor in the situation, and then we can, you know, also act according to our values, even though we have this emotion of anger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of this is about creating self-awareness, creating, you know, empowerment. You know, we have this phrase in authentic relating called own your experience. And owning your experience is really the key to empowerment. So we have a lot of teachings on that as well.
Yeah. So really becoming aware of what you are experiencing in a moment, and instead of like acting from that emotion, you can learn ways to express that emotion, but also be aware of how
Mhm.
you express it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, good, beautiful. And I know that one of the things that you also do is that you bring this authentic relating work to prison and prisoners. Do you still do that? Yeah, probably now it's a bit harder with COVID, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we helped start a nonprofit many years ago as we were starting the company,
yeah.
and that is called the Realness Project. So that's run by my friend Lori Lazar. And yeah, the exact same course, The Art of Being Human, that we do with people through workshops and now online through the 6-week course.
Yeah.
We're doing that, or there was a couple dozen of them that happen in the prisons with prisoners. And that work is headed up by Lori Lazar and the Realness Project. And right now they're doing an authentic relating booklet. So you can donate to have this authentic relating workbook go to the inmates. And we've just heard stories that are just so amazing. And it's really, slowly transforming some of the cultures in the prisons for the men and women who are incarcerated to have these tools and access to these tools.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can imagine that if there's one place in the world where there's a lot of acting from fear and protecting yourself, that it's happening in there, inside the prison environment. Yeah. All right. So we are approaching a bit the end of the interview. So I would love to hear if there's something like a final thing you want to share with the viewers, or a final tip or something that you really want to give them.
Yeah. So there are all of these messages around what it means to be a man, right? And I'm sure some of your other guests are going to talk about this, but authenticity is really about knowing that those messages are not you.
Like the messages from the world around you, you mean? Yeah.
The messages, even from your parents, the messages that come from your parents, that come from advertising, that come from the culture, that come from the expectations, they're real energies that are flying around you and affecting you all the time. And there's specific ones that men work with and deal with. They are not you. So when we're in this age, primarily between the age of 14 and 25, say, we are completely identified with, this is a really interesting word. It basically means we're one with, or these things are so sticky that we can't separate ourselves from them.
Yeah.
So, at age 14, we start to self-define who we are. And most people do that a little bit, but they're still completely embedded in the messages of. And the goal of authentic relating is called individuation, which is you are completely free from those messages.
Yeah. And what would be like the main messages that you believe that men receive?
Well, that we have to be stoic, that we have to be unaffected by things like shame or rejection or emotional pain, or and like even this idea of like, I don't care what other people think of me. It's a popular idea.
Yeah.
In personal growth culture, and I don't buy it.
No, I see.
I don't care what other people think of me is not authenticity. That's called rebellion. That's called being a teenager. That's called emotional immaturity, actually. Emotional maturity is realizing like I am deeply affected by other people. I'm deeply affected by my community. And I want other people to think of me as a good person. But I'm going to do what I believe is right anyway, no matter what other people think of me.
Yeah.
That's individuation. That's emotional maturity. I deeply, deeply care. And this is a little bit of a radical reframe or teaching. but I deeply, deeply care what other people think of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I do what I believe is right if people are going to think negatively of me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah. So even if you care about what other people think and you want to, yeah, at the same time, you want to be able to still follow your own inspiration, your own guidance, and do that in a way that is like working for the rest of the world as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't help but care what other people think
Yeah.
about us because that's how we're wired.
Yeah.
That's just how our nervous systems are put together.
Yeah.
You know, we're designed to, yeah, it's called, yeah. Anyway, I won't get into it. That hopefully
Yeah.
that really speaks to some people. I think
Yeah.
there's some people out there that really need to hear that message,
Yeah.
that it's okay to be deeply, deeply affected if you feel rejected. It's okay to have grief. And being a man is not about being unaffected.
Mm-hmm.
It's about really being able to process those emotions and work through those emotions and coming back to the core of who you are and and what your values truly are, and to have your actions align with your values.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. So it's feeling the emotions that come up, but at the same time, can you say like authentic with yourself
Yes.
in the process? Yeah. All
Mhm.
right. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end the interview. So, for everyone who wants to know more about Jason or about authentic relating, I would suggest you buy the book, or you check out the website. And there are online courses in it, and also in person when it's allowed again.
Mhm.
And you also offered a free gift. I believe that was a chapter of your book. Am I correct? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you can get that with the link that we provide you with. All right. So then this is the end of our interview. So thank you, Jason, for your time and for sharing your wisdom with us. And for everyone who is viewing, thank you for being here. And also check out the other interviews for more inspiration from the other speakers. So thank you,
Mhm.
Jason. And thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Take care. Yeah, so good to be with you.
Yes, same.